Excellent. Okay, so let's kick this off. Um, so thank you everyone for being here. We'll run through just a quick agenda and then we'll dive into some updates. So we'll go through who we are. We have some big updates, even as recent as yesterday. And then we want to talk about reinforcement learning and then which would bring that leads us to like the future of AGUI, and then we'll wrap it up with some questions. So I'm Nathan with Copilotkit. I'm the senior DevRel here, and I lead our communities for Copilotkit and AGUI. Super excited to be here. And Ataya, I will hand it over to you.
Maybe it's handed over to, okay, yeah, just for introductions. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
Ty, co-founder and CEO of Copilotkit. Great to be here. And Uli here is co-founder and head of community. So thanks for joining. And actually, we have Marcus who dropped in too, who is the brains behind AGUI. The man and the legend is here.
Hey, Marcus, thanks for
Featured
being here.
guest.
Our featured guest. Yeah.
And
Yes.
co-founding engineer. Forgot to say that.
Ataya, I'm going to hand it off to you to just run us through kind of an intro of Copilotkit and AGUI.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Copilotkit is infrastructure for building co-pilots, which are user-facing agents in agentic applications, right? So not agents that go running autonomously on their own, but it's really the connective tissue between the agent world and the application world. Those of you guys building agents, you've probably seen that the old world we've used to, where client makes a request, the server returns something, client displays it, and that's it, it's over. This world is long gone in the agentic world. You have a lot of really deep interactivity between agents and users. These are programs that run over a long time with lots of different interfaces to users through structured and unstructured data exchange at the same time, right? Text and voice alongside tool calls and so on. And yeah, we're the leading solution here for this layer of the stack by a growing margin. We're open source. We have over 32,000 GitHub stars to our repos, over 120,000 installs to our packages every week, growing double digits month over month. We're powering at this point millions of agent user interactions in production by top companies, from the Fortune 100s to unicorns, to hackers, to everybody in between. And we're also the company behind the AGUI protocol, which is possibly what's bringing you here. It stands for the Agent User Interaction Protocol. And yeah, as I mentioned before, where we fit in the stack is, you have LM APIs at the bottom, you have user-facing applications at the top, and we're again the connective tissue between them. So infrastructure to bring agents into the application world. And the three big categories of use cases that folks are building on top of us are one, SaaS copilots, right? So if you have a complex SaaS application, bringing an agentic interface that allows users to, say what they want to build or what they want to do, and the agent helps them do that. Second one is co-creation copilot. That's kind of cursor for anything. And the third one is workflow copilot. So these are things that used to be jobs. You might have 100 or 1,000 people doing some job. Now it's a job in a copilot, where the people working on the job are working alongside agents that are specifically designed to work specifically on that job. And the human expert alongside the agent is just a dramatic productivity booster for everybody. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Awesome. So we have some big updates that I wanted to briefly mention, and we've got something bigger that we want to talk about. But last week we introduced the AGUI templates with Mostra, and we have one for LangGraph. We're building one for every agentic framework that we support. And really what this is it's a prototype for building like an open canvas. So we hear this a lot when we talk to teams and even large enterprises that they're really what they're interested in is this agentic canvas where you can bring in human in the loop. It's extensible and So we've built a few of these. The newest one is our AGUI templates, which are in our Copilotkit repos. And then next is our launch of the ADK support. And
So Nathan, before we go away from the templates, it would be great to send in some of the repos to the chat here. And just to talk about it briefly, this is like a Canvas template for building one of the most important use cases um, for building AI applications. The building blocks that it contains is, first of all, shared state between the agent you bring in and the application. So there's bidirectional communication of state. So both the agent and the app share a picture of reality, so to speak. Has tool calls that allows the agent to take actions inside of the application. It is able to render agent state and agent tool calls. And this essentially is like boilerplate application that you can then take and customize to build like cursor for anything. And it's very easy to get started with. We have like a walkthrough by the engineer who built this, who explains how it works and how to customize it. And we're releasing this one after one for every single agent framework. So whichever framework is your favorite to work with, this will allow you to build a what we call co-creation Copilot on top of it. So definitely check these out and build with them. Yeah, we've
yeah,
had great reception to them.
yeah, definitely. And our newest engineer, Brandon, recorded a really good walkthrough video. So if you just click on this image, it's going to take you to
That's not
the
Brandon.
that's the ad. But
Yeah.
Brandon shows up after the ad, and it's a really good walkthrough of implementation, kind of how how to think about these canvases, and all of the points that Uli mentioned. So thank you, Uli, for uh,
Yeah.
steering
And
me
we
on
actually
track
have
there.
a hackathon this Saturday for anyone interested in Mountain View with Llama Index, Microsoft Composio, and B Capital. And in that hackathon, this is what we will be giving people, this Canvas template, and then seeing all the ways that people will customize it. So we're pretty excited for that. We have like 500 people registered. So if you're in the Bay Area, you should definitely come by. I'll send the event link.
Nice. Yeah. That's pretty huge. We're excited about that one. And then the next thing is the ADK support. So Google's Agent Development Kit, fully supported, and we've got full documentation that walks you through how to get started in 4 easy steps. And you can get started as easily as one command, install it, grab your Google API key, and then run your server. And you're talking to your ADK agent within just probably 2 minutes. So it's really quick and easy. And so the ADK,
And Nathan, I don't
um,
know if you saw that Mark from the community just joined the call
y-
as well.
yeah, I brought him up because I
Okay,
was
great.
leading into that. So this is community led. This whole integration was community led by Mark Fogel. And hey, Mark, thanks for joining us up here.
Yeah, glad to join you.
Awesome. And so we merged this just a couple days ago, and I even put here we have a generative dashboard example. So if you want to click on this QR code or scan it, that'll take you to the repo. But coming back to community led, Mark, I wanted to ask you and let you just briefly talk about ADK, what led you to AGUI, and then um, like why did you want to start building the ADK integration and then get this merged into AGUI?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I've been in software development in the enterprise space for the last 20 or so years, and then really doing mobile development for the last 15. But I guess I really became interested in agentic applications after chatting with the Google ADK folks at this year's Google I/O. So for me, ADK was the first agentic framework I looked at seriously. So I was kind of spoiled because ADK has kind of everything all in one place. They've got the memory, they've pretty much all the tools that an agent would need are readily accessible. And it's open source and it's Google. And I've been, just by virtue of working on Android, I've been heavily immersed in the Google ecosystem for quite some time. And then, I'd already done my first ADK integration with like a Twilio-based front end, which was kind of a bit painful. So when I found out about AGUI, and I think I first found out it was in a Mostra webinar, and I thought, oh, that Mostra thing looks cool, but this AGUI thing looks really cool because I could see right away just the gap that AGUI was filling in the protocol stack because I'd already dealt with that pain firsthand. So then I started browsing the AGI repo and I saw someone raising the issue of ADK support. So it just seemed only natural that that would be the first contribution because I could just tell right away that this is something I wanted to be involved in. So I think it started around the 4th of July weekend. Like most of my side projects just seem to start up over a holiday weekend. And so by the end of that weekend, I mean, I already had the basic integration with, if you're familiar with the AGUI Dojo, the agentic chat demo, that was already up and running. And then just kind of organically, this guy I'd never met before, Syed, kind of just joined and started tackling support for the rest of the Dojo apps. So it worked out really well. Actually, the time zone disparity, 12 hours worked out in our favor. I would do some work on the protocol side of things, on the integration, and then Syed would take over and then work on the demo apps, and we'd go back and forth that way. So really, by the end of July, we had pretty much the whole thing up and running. That left the month of August and then early September for more of the testing and polish, and then just kind of at the end there, some colleagues from the Copilotkit side came in and just did the final fit and finish and released yesterday. So yeah, it was just really a great experience overall.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's an amazing story, Mark, and yeah, really grateful to have folks of your caliber in the community kind of doing these types of deep integrations. And I know from the Google team, there's been a lot of demand on the ADK side for that. And yesterday, they actually launched it as well, and yeah, they're going to be, I think maybe they have or will be today merging in the docs of ADK. So this is kind of going to become a standard part of that ADK stack.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, at another event a couple weeks ago, before this, I ran into some Google folks, and I told them what I'd done, and they were just amazed. I just showed them like, at any point in time, I'm walking around with like 6 demos on me with all the different devices I have that I've done the integrations with. So I was just showing them like, here it is on Kotlin, here it is on the phone, here it is on the glasses, which everybody seems to love.
Love the
And
glasses.
so yeah, it's been a fun experience overall.
Awesome.
That's
And
really amazing.
yeah, and we really appreciate you seeing this like from start all the way through the finish line and
Beyond. I mean, there's more work to be done.
definitely. Yeah. So thank you, Mark. We really appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Yeah, it's
And I
great.
think this really also speaks to how this community functions of AGUI. Like we released the initial launch of AGUI with a few agent frameworks. There was tons of demand from the community to extend this to ADK. We simultaneously had the community thread on it. We had a thread with the Google A2A team, and those sort of came together. And I think it's like an awesome handoff where like the community has demand for something, they build it out, then we get it production ready and tightened up with the Google folks, the Copilotkit folks, put some marketing behind it. So it's amazing that like what the community demanded is now being broadcast across the agent ecosystem with like clean docs and ways to come in and start building. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. And then the other thing that that we launched about a month and a half ago was our vibe coding server. So I just wanted to quickly show the docs and why this is important. So this is on the Copilotkit side. So you can add the Copilotkit context to your cursor or Claude code. And then it'll bring up the docs. You have access and give the agent context of all source code and implementation when you're building agentic applications. So wanted to quickly mention that because we're seeing just massive feedback from that, and it's powered by Tadata. They did a really good job on it, and so it's super helpful for development, even just getting started.
Yeah, and again, sorry to just to interject really quick. The vibe coding server, we've seen it really speed up prototyping with Copilotkit. Like, just load this into Cursor. Our engineer Tyler, he did a demo at an AI Tinkers meetup where he ran like 4 different agents on the vibe coding server. He took existing agents and they built like full stack applications around it. Yeah, so definitely check it out. If you got started building, you can use it with ADK now too. So that's awesome. And big shout out to Data. They don't just context dump like the whole docs into your cursor. They have code snippets, documentation, and best practices, and they do some sort of RAG to bring only the relevant context to your agent. So it saves you tokens, it performs a lot better. Yeah, so check it out.
Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we wanted to talk about is,
And maybe just to finish the before we move on, the two things, the template and the vibe coding server, work together really well. So you can start with the shared canvas, the AGI canvas template, get all these building blocks for basically building cursor for anything, and then use the vibe coding MCP server, integrate that into your cursor app and build like pretty impressive things pretty quickly. We have this demo we did at AI Tinkers a couple of weeks ago, where we built basically PM Copilot, right? So Copilot for something like Linear, let's say, or Jira, in really less than an hour, I think I want to say, for kind of the initial V1 there. So it can do some pretty cool things. But yeah, please, Nathan,
definitely.
let's move on.
Okay. Yeah. So the other topic we wanted to talk about is reinforcement learning, and Atai and probably Marcus has a lot to say about this as well. But I'll hand it over to you, Atai.
Yeah, sounds good. I think actually we wanted to have a bit of a discussion, and can you go to the next? Yeah, you can just have that kind of in the background. If
Sure.
anybody, while we talk, this is exciting, you can just hop on the wait list. But Uli, do you want to just kind of chat a little bit
Yeah.
about
Yeah, and just to give context, in this webinar, we're giving early access to something new. It's not going to be released to the public yet. So anyone who's on here, you're getting first row seat into the future of AGUI. Yeah, and obviously this is related to the, RL, reinforcement learning. And Atai, like, would you be able to just walk us through what is RL?
Yes, definitely. So RL, it stands for reinforcement learning. It's learning that's really inspired by how humans and animals learn out there, right? So you have some model output, right? You have something you're doing, and some of the things you're doing work well, and some of the things you're doing work less well. And you want to kind of up reinforce the things that you did that are good, and down reinforce the things that you did that are bad. So when you touch something hot and you feel a little bit of pain. Now okay, that was a bad idea. I'm gonna down regulate my drive to want to touch something that's hot. And maybe if you do something that yields a good outcome, you eat food that tastes really good. It's like, oh, I want to do that more of that. So that's kind of the basic idea behind reinforcement learning. In the LLM world specifically, reinforcement learning has been a really important part of the Gen AI story. It's the technology that brought the original GPT 3.5 to the Chat GPT that kind of broke open the world. So the way this works technically, in the specific form that it's been applied so far, there's different forms you can apply reinforcement learning. Is you have a pre-training stage, which is take enormous amounts of data, basically everything that's been written, the entire internet and more, enormous amounts of compute, and you learn to predict in general the next token for anything, right? So now you've kind of learned all sorts of things, all sorts of kind of intelligent modes uh, um, that can be learned from this data. But when you interact with these systems, you don't want to interact with a whole universe of creation. You want a specific thing. In the case of ChatGPT, you want this kind of general purpose assistant that is helpful, maybe sometimes a little bit too helpful, right? Like, oh, you're so right. We've all seen that
Yeah, RL's made
a
GPT
little bit too much
a kiss
RL
up.
there, but yeah.
They agree to
Um,
everything.
Yes, yeah, yeah. But anyways, the way this works is you take another data set, and you of human, much smaller data set of the specific things that you want to choose to select to reinforce from the kind of raw model. So this is not kind of training new capabilities. The way really to think of it is you're upregulating and downregulating things that are kind of already innate to the model.
Mm. But where does this data come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's really two main sources of RL datasets. The first one is machine verifiable rewards, right? So sometimes you can create problems that the computer can just say, "Hey, is this good or bad?" Because in the end of the day, what you want for reinforcement learning datasets, there's a few different kinds of these, but generally it's either here's what a human prefers, or best, here's what the changes to the answers so that they would be right are. So sometimes you can get that from machine verifiable rewards. So right, if you have like unit tests, for example, you can know did the unit test pass or not, and then you up reinforce the things that passed, and you down reinforce the things
Mm.
that did not pass. That's also where you see all these RL environment startups popping up now, with people kind of doing a clone of, let's say, DoorDash, with RL signals embedded in it. So when an agent tries to order some DoorDash, now it gets a signal, hey, did it succeed to order the sandwich that I wanted or not? And so that's kind of one part of the world, and we actually don't really operate in that world, but I just wanted to mention that. The second and more dominant source of RL datasets is human labeling. Um, right? And that's where, companies like Scale AI and their competitors have built a giant industry of labeling, where human labor is given, these laborers are getting paid, anywhere from 60 to sometimes $1,000 an hour, depending on the kind of expertise needed for these labelings. And they're given AI generated output. They say where it's correct and where it's not. They mark the differences. And that's been like a big source of our data sources. So far, it's of course prohibitively expensive, so it can only be used at the model layer, realistically, or mostly there, where you can kind of share the winnings across the entire model. But that's kind of the second big source, the human intelligence, essentially.
It's very interesting. I actually didn't know a lot of these pieces. So good to hear from you about that. What are like some examples of an RL data set? Like what is it? What could
Yeah,
it look like?
yeah. So one kind of common example is the AI diff, right? So a label is given. Let's say here's a page of content. And then the labeler says, okay, this page is mostly good, but this paragraph is not good. Here's what it should have been. And this sentence
Mm.
is not good. Here's what it should have been. And so this is sort of a source of AI. This is one common RL data point. There's other ones that can be, okay, between preference A and preference B, I prefer preference B. That's another example of an RL data point. Generally speaking, the more information you have in the data point, the better. So it's better to have not just I prefer B, but what did I prefer? What are the differences that make B better
Mm.
than A?
Cool. And okay, so you mentioned that RL helped bring about ChatGPT and that there's all these ecosystems around producing RL data. Um, where do you see it going? Because we've seen it applied to its first use case of ChatGPT.
Hmm.
Um, is it, yeah, where do you see this whole space going of RL?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's now, if you kind of listen to the leaders of the model companies, there's a big paradigm shift that we're about to undergo. And that's industrial scale RL. So RL is really kind of the next big jump that the models get, right? So we had pre-training, got a big jump. That was, the GPT-3, GPT-4 era. We had Then thinking, which is still obviously going to continue to see the rewards of that, but that was another big jump forward, which is, by the way, also really affected by reinforcement learning. If you can, reinforce paths of thought, not just the end result. But reinforcement learning is really kind of the next big jump. And as the model companies are starting to eye, the application layer, for example, coding, that's the weapon of choice to reach for. The reason the models are so good at coding is because there's a lot of people getting paid a lot of money to create RL data sets for these coding tasks. That's one of the big reasons there. And so yeah, we're kind of going this paradigm shift where now the whole economy needs to start producing RL data sets. We're kind of moving from the handcrafted RL dataset era where there's a few people getting paid some money, but it's kind of on a small scale, to the whole economy is doing a job and producing RL datasets for that job at the same time.
Yeah, and I think like you briefly touched on, I think Cursor is a good example here. Like they've made the Cursor application sort of be an RL environment that is then
Yeah,
used to improve performance.
Yeah, that's something they actually published a paper on this just about a week ago. That they've been using all the interaction data, right, from users. What are users approving, not approving? What are they editing? And built basically like online RL at the largest scale I think that's been published so far, and seeing very significant, double-digit improvement jumps with that. So it's kind of a little bit akin to a model jump, right? So GPT-4 to GPT-5 type jump
It's amazing.
for the domain. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question in the chat, which is my next question as well. So we're at the Future of AGUI webinar. The question from Jacob is, so where does AGUI fit in here? I'm on the edge of my seat, and I am as well. So tell us.
Nice. Okay. Good question. So look, in the age of copilots, you no longer need to create these artificial environments where a labeler gets, here's some AI generated data, and if you cared about this, what would you edit here to make this output better? We're all doing this all day long, every day. And so the opportunity here is to make this data useful, right? So Copilotkit and AGUI is right now facilitating all of these agent user interactions. But this data is kind of passing through and getting lost to the ether. But the real opportunity here is to capture this data and make it useful for reinforcement learning for the specific tasks at hand, right? So kind of what we're kind of building towards here is self-improving agents, right? The agents that, okay, you build the first version, you can do some coding to improve it from your own kind of domain expertise as a builder in the space. But you also let the agent actually learn from experience over time with users. And the shape of data that flows through the AGUI layer is exactly the same as the shape of data that these,
Oh,
the folks are getting paid quite a bit of money to generate.
and just to clarify, what you're discussing is not harvesting this data and then selling it to model
right, yeah,
companies. You're talking about
really
something
important
different.
point. Yes, yeah, really important point. So like we're not talking about us, Copilotkit, as a company capturing this data. The data belongs to the companies that produce it, but we're building the infrastructure so that this data is capturable and useful, right? Right now, it passes through, can't act on it, but it's there. Your own users are generating extremely useful reinforcement learning data every single day they use your Copilot. And so the AGUI RL layer, which is part of the agent user platform we're building into Copilotkit, is about the infrastructure to capture and make useful that data for you, right? Everything is kind of privacy first, self-hostable. But it's really about the infrastructure to make this useful, kind of
For them. Very important to
for you,
not for
right? For
us.
you, the company, exactly, and that you can make it then useful for your own users.
Yeah. Yeah. As head of growth at Copilotkit, my favorite metric is watching the interactions between agents and users, like the raw number of those interactions. And we're approaching like 2 million a week now, which is pretty exciting. Like that's a lot of data on what agents are doing and how users are then
2 million
correcting
per
them.
week, yeah,
Yeah, 2 million a week.
yeah,
It's
and
pretty
and a
awesome.
few weeks ago it was less than 1 million. So that's yeah, it's a good
Yeah, jumping fast.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you described to us in theory all this stuff, but then how is it actionable for a company, and do they have to become an insanely cracked model training company now to perform RL on their own data and somehow integrate it, or what does this look like?
Yeah, good question. So there's a few kind of layers we are foreseeing and building here in the RL layer. And there is the option for fully fine-tuned models that require a bit more investment from the engineering teams behind, the product teams uh, um, in your companies building these copilots. But there's also the initial layer, which we're very excited about, which is in context reinforcement learning. So again, these models are getting very, very smart. What's the most important point is the data points, right? The most important point is here's a query, here's what the model generated, here's what the user edited. That's kind of really the core of this. And fine tuning a model on top of that data, that's one way you can use it. But another way you can use it is to gather learning signals that can be used in context. So essentially, teach the model in the prompt effectively what the learning signals are for these specific edits by these specific types of users. So basically, the first version or the first layer, the easiest thing to integrate here is basically just an API endpoint that improves the naive model generation, right? So instead of you kind of pass it, okay, here's the input I pass to the model, here's the output of the model, and then you pass these two things, and now you get to the end, the other side. Well, here is the reinforcement learning informed better output. And so that's something that's very easy to integrate into any application in a matter of, you know, hours, let's say.
Wow, that's pretty. Can you give a TLDR of that last part again? So there's a API that sits where exactly?
Yeah, so this is going to be self-hostable. So part of the Copilot runtime wherever you host it, either it's on Copilot Cloud or the self-hostable part of the enterprise plan. And you now get you essentially pass to this API. Here is the query that I passed to the LM. Here's what the LM responded. This API now goes and sees, okay, here's all the previous times that similar queries were asked and all the interactions that happened after this query, and essentially builds a better in context prompt that takes your original prompt and all the learning that's happened into account and generates kind of better informed output. So this is again something that's very easy to build. And in addition to that, we also foresee just fully exporting the data sets, right? So here's all the RL data sets. Go do with it whatever you want. Now you don't have to pay Scale AI, tens of millions of dollars for those maybe. Um, and especially your own users are generally the experts for reinforcement learning. Who do you want to really generate these data sets? Somebody getting paid somewhere out there in the world, or your user who's actually trying to get something done for themselves. Um, and then finally, we're also planning here just a fully closed reinforcement learning loop, that connects to the fine-tuning APIs of, the large model providers, OpenAI,
Yeah.
Gemini, and so on. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. We're a bit over time now. I'll close this with again something from the chat. Wow, this is huge. Yes, I agree. This uh this is pretty awesome and a big deal. Um, if you're here, you're really at the cutting edge of this whole ecosystem. Lots of alpha in this meeting. Atai, anything else you want to say to close us out here?
Yeah, no, we're excited for this. If this is something that's interesting to you, yeah, you can sign up to the wait list. In the previous slide, I think it's Copilotkit. Nathan, can you just go one previous slide, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's send the link in the chat again.
Yeah. So go copilotkit.ai/rl-waitlist. Yeah, this is something that's the wheels are in motion on this as we speak. So if you want to kind of be in the early cohorts, would be great to connect. Yeah, but this is something we expect to eventually come out to everybody, and we're very excited for it.
Cool. That's amazing. Let's give maybe a few minutes for questions. Atai, if you have time, Nathan, I don't know if you guys have to drop off.
Let's scope it to maybe two questions because I do have to drop off.
Okay. All right. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Nathan, putting us together. Yeah, you're really, if you're here, you're at the cutting edge. You're getting lots of alpha. So yeah, let's take some questions. If anyone has any. I know
Yeah,
there's a,
there's a few in the chat actually.
yeah.
So someone asked, Sam asked, does AGUI package and features have any plans in place on the roadmap for federated learning at a infra enterprise or inter enterprise? I think if I translate this, is AGUI going to have an enterprise plan?
Yeah, I think so yeah, maybe let me know if I misunderstand the question, Sam. So first, yeah, so the AGUI, well, Copilotkit is building the agent user platform around AGUI. So AGUI is kind of the protocol here, and then we're building kind of a really great ecosystem around this protocol to bring any AGUI compatible agent as kind of live actors in an application, in a user-facing application. Um, and so you mentioned the intra-enterprise and inter-enterprise. So I think maybe what you're kind of hinting at here is kind of buckets of learning, potentially, where maybe some learnings you want to only be used for this one user, right? And some learnings you want to use for that whole team. And maybe some learnings you want to apply for the whole organization. Maybe some of them are applied for, many different organizations. So I think maybe that's what you're getting at. And in the short, yeah. So yeah, that's what you were asking. And yeah, the answer there is yes. So essentially, you can have containers with IDs, so you can control these learning containers. Essentially, gonna make the developer experience there pretty smooth. And the end result is that you can keep these learning scoped to whatever group is meaningful to you. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you. I was actually way off, so appreciate that. And then Hassan asked, is the main Copilotkit package now built on AGUI or is it still pre-protocol? Also, any plans for the protocol to support events for reasoning tokens so they can be displayed on the front end?
Yeah. Yeah. Support reasoning tokens so they can display on the front. Yes. Yeah, kind of if I look behind the scenes here a little bit, AGY has kind of emerged from our initial partnerships with a bunch of other folks here. And I see Marcus coming in, so maybe Marcus wants to add some information here. But we basically, the way AGI was born is we had our own internal events, which now we kind of, lovingly call dirty AGUI. Kind of that was the precursor to AGUI. And then AGUI was kind of, okay, let's take a step back, clean it up, put a clean layer there that anybody can build against in the community and, the frameworks and the clients. And so that's kind of the main version. Now, Copilotkit behind the scene is still kind of doing this translation between AGUI events to dirty AGUI events. They're semantically equivalent. There's the same information contained in them, but they're just less nice. And we consider this technical debt that is going away. And Marcus, maybe you want to give I don't know, did you join in order to talk about this?
Yeah, I can briefly speak about it. So
Yeah.
we are going to, as I said, get rid of that technical debt, and we're going to have AGUI supported end to end, which means only AGUI for communication and being able to access all of the capabilities of AGUI agents, which includes subscribing to them, which includes changing how they process the events, giving you access to the raw events that come from the agent frameworks. We're going to have all of that, in the next version of Copilotkit. So yes, we're going to have that.
Yes,
and also,
coming soon and
we do
available
plan
for,
to
by the way,
support- Mhm.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, please, you go ahead.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you. Yeah, if anybody, so this is going to come out publicly for everybody soon. If anybody wants kind of early access to this, to help us find squash last bugs and so on, then it's available. It's available for pre-release. So maybe reach out to Uli or to Nathan. I think it's Nathan@copilotkit.ai. And
Yep.
we'll get you in the pre-release, but this is gonna come out for everybody soon.
Yeah. And regarding the reasoning tokens, we posted a bunch of draft proposals for various things, and among them is a proposal for reasoning tokens, which is going to include full support also for sending the reasoning back to the language model, which includes also support for sending encrypted reasoning tokens in the way that Anthropic and OpenAI needs them. So yes, we are also planning to fully support reasoning.
Nice.
Would
That's
someone be
great.
able to send that drafts link in the chat? I think it's a
It's
great
in
place
the
for.
AGUI doc, so you can go
Yeah.
to ag-ui.com, and you'll see it right there in the sidebar.
I don't see it in the sidebar. Oh, draft proposals. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. I do have to go, but thanks everybody for joining, spending your Friday with us, and yeah, really great to have like an amazing community for AGY, and yeah, keep let us know if you have any other questions, needs, ideas, and otherwise see you on the GitHub issues.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you joining us on a Friday. Have a great weekend.
All right, bye bye
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.